So welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News and Shorts. In this lecture series, we cover a particular day's current affairs in a very short span of time. Now let's straight away jump into the lecture, okay? We won't waste time in introduction, but just like I say this every time before the lecture, I'll say it again. You won't be able to help yourself with this lecture if you don't revise this lecture, because without revision, you'll forget this lecture. So revise this lecture from the notes provided by us on our Telegram channel. The link to our Telegram channel is provided in the comment section below. Okay? So without further ado, let's straight away jump into today's lecture. Okay? Daily Current Affairs, 21st July, Monday. And here is the list of topics. So number one is biostimulants under scrutiny. So what are biostimulants? Because recently Union Minister of Agriculture has made an announcement with respect to biostimulants, which are used in agriculture. So we'll talk about this. Then, as you all know, we have discussed this before that, well, food inflation has been historically low. Okay, it is very low and overall inflation has also declined. So what are the reasons behind this very low food inflation, which is so beneficial for India? We'll talk about this. Then, well, good news for all those people who clear all the first two stages of UPSC examination but can't clear the interview stage. Well, they would be eligible for further employment in private companies. For that, UPSC has launched UPSC Pratibha Setu. Basically, all those aspirants who clear mains examination but cannot clear prelims interview stage, well, they would be eligible for employment in the private sector. Okay, what is this entire scheme? We'll talk about this. Actually, a very good scheme for all UPSC aspirants. And last, well, a TB skin test by Kerala government. Kerala has launched a TB skin test. It is a very good skin test for latent TB. So the question is, what is latent TB? We'll talk about this, and we'll also talk about, well, what is this skin test and how is it different from other TB tests? Okay, so these are the four topics that we shall zero in our attention on. Let's quickly jump into the lecture. Let's start with topic number one, which is biostimulants under scrutiny. Now, what are biostimulants basically? You see, farmers, to help their crops, to improve the yield of their crop, use fertilizers and pesticides, right? Fertilizers basically provide the nutrients to plants, and pesticides basically prevent pests, insects from attacking their crop, thereby destroying their crop, right? So these pesticides actually attack these insects and pests, which basically destroy your crop, right? So you all are familiar with insecticides, pesticides, fertilizers, right? But there is a third category of products called biostimulants. Okay, these are those materials, basically substances, which help plants grow better. Their physiological growth improves. And that is why farmers use biostimulants a lot. But recently what was found out was that, well, some fertilizer companies and some fertilizer shops were forcing farmers to buy these biostimulants. So if a farmer goes to a shop and says, I want to buy urea or I want to buy diammonium phosphate, then the fertilizer shopkeeper would tell them that yes, I will give you urea at a subsidized rate, but you have to buy this biostimulant as well. So these things were going on. Plus, some biostimulants were not working, and that is why many farmers raised complaints about this. So Union Agricultural Minister basically, well, addressed these two issues. And he said that we are going to further regulate these biostimulants strictly. Okay. So the question is, what are these biostimulants? What are some of the examples of these biostimulants, right? And how are they regulated in India? Clear? This piece of information is very important for you. How are they regulated in India? Clear? So let's talk about all these things. This is very important topic, and I can see a prelims MCQ next year from this topic. Okay? So pay close attention. So biostimulants under scrutiny. So recently Union Minister for Agriculture Shivraj Chauhan, he said that, well, he is aware of certain complaints with respect to force tagging of certain biostimulants. Now, what do you mean by force tagging? Basically, if a farmer goes to a fertilizer shop for buying subsidized urea, DAP, or any other fertilizer, Well, the shopkeepers sometimes force them to buy a biostimulant along with these products. Okay. Now, farmers already use biostimulants, but this force tagging is a wrong thing. Plus, Union Minister for Agriculture said that some of these biostimulants are not working, and we have received some complaints from farmers. Okay. Now, the question is, what are these biostimulants and why do farmers use them? Okay. So, about biostimulants. So, basically, biostimulant is a material, is a substance, or a microorganism. There are some beneficial bacteria, beneficial fungi, which help plants grow properly. Okay, so these are some of the substances, microorganisms, or both that are packaged as a product and sold to farmers. And when farmers use these products, whether a substance or a microorganism or both, well, it helps with soil health, okay, plant growth, plant nutrient uptake, yield, and many other benefits can be taken from this. Clear? So biostimulants are those substances or microorganisms which help the yield of plants, crops basically. Now, along with biostimulants, farmers also use fertilizers and insecticides. These biostimulants are a third category of products which help improve crop yield. Okay? To help improve crop yield, farmers use three types of things: fertilizers, insecticides and pesticides, and this third category is biostimulants. Okay? Now, like I've mentioned before, biostimulants are substances or microorganisms. Some example are, well, seaweed grass or products taken out of seaweed grass. They are used like this. Okay? Then there is rhizobium, a particular kind of bacteria that improves your soil health, right? That is also given to farmers. Then many amino acid tablets or powders or protein tablets and powders, they are also given to farmers to apply to their soil so that plants nutrient uptake improves. Okay, so these are like many, basically there is a variety of products which neither fall in the fertilizer category nor do they fall in insecticide pesticide category. So we call them biostimulants. Simple. Now, the thing is, so far, and this is very important, okay? So far, biostimulants were not regulated at all. Okay? Not regulated. And by not regulated means that any manufacturer could manufacture them and sell them to farmers. And government won't do anything about it. Now that manufacturer can also sell poisonous stuff. Okay? That manufacturer can sell toxic stuff. That manufacturer can exploit the farmer. All these things are possible because government is not regulating this sector. And government realized soon that it needs to regulate this sector so as to protect farmers from buying toxic biostimulants or being exploited by these people, manufacturers. Okay. Now, fertilizers and pesticides in India are regulated by Fertilizer Control Order 1985. Now, this Fertilizer Control Order was amended in 2021 and a chapter on biostimulants was added to this order. Now, after 2021, even biostimulants are regulated under Fertilizer Control Order. Clear? So, before 2021, Fertilizer Control Order only controlled or only regulated fertilizers. But after 2021, now biostimulants, their manufacture, their sale, their quality, okay, all these things, manufacture, sale and quality, these three things are regulated by Fertilizer Control Order 2021. In fact, Fertilizer Control Order also defines what are biostimulants. Clear? So this is the main order. Now, Fertilizer Control Order is issued under Essential Commodities Act 1955. So you remember this, okay? This is the law, Essential Commodities Act, under which Fertilizer Control Order is issued. Clear? Makes sense? Now, regulation of biostimulants. So like I've mentioned before, okay, biostimulants earlier were not regulated but are now regulated. Okay, the thing is that under Fertilizer Control Order 1985, Well, if you want to manufacture biostimulants and if you want to sell them, okay, well, you have to register your biostimulant, and you have to register your biostimulant at Controller of Fertilizers. So there is this office under Government of India called Controller of Fertilizers. There you have to file an application. You have to test your biostimulant for toxicity, for quality, okay? You have to follow all the rules. And once you have registered, then only you can manufacture, sell biostimulants. Clear? So this is how it is regulated. So a lot of toxicity tests are also conducted, quality tests are conducted. All these things happen, then only you get to register them. Now this has really improved the lives of farmers when it comes to use of biostimulants. But the recent news has revealed that despite this fertilizer control order or its amendment, there are still some complaints with respect to biostimulants. Surely, well, Controller of Fertilizers is not doing a proper quality testing. That is why farmers have complained that some biostimulants are not working properly. Okay, and this thing of not geotagging, force tagging, this thing of forcing farmers to buy biostimulants. Well, that means that fertilizer control order is not able to regulate manufacturing and sale of biostimulants properly. So yes, government now regulates manufacture, sale and quality of biostimulants, but there are some problems as revealed by Union Minister for Agriculture, right? That's about it. Clear? Now let's quickly shift to second topic, which is reasons behind low inflation. Okay. Now you see, retail inflation in India, as we have discussed this before also in the previous current affairs lectures. If you have not watched those lectures, please go and watch that, okay? There we have discussed entire thing about CPI, Consumer Price Index, and retail inflation. Nonetheless, the thing is that retail inflation has been at a historical low. Consumer Price Index based inflation has been at a historical low. And the reason behind that has been low food inflation. Food inflation has been at an historical low, And, well, the thing is, well, it has come as a big relief for people. Because since January 2019, we are used to high inflation and high food inflation. Okay, since January 2019, food inflation has been pretty high. This is the first time, 2025 is the first time that food inflation has been on a downward trajectory. Okay, now this news article which we are discussing in this lecture, well, it talks about why food inflation is low. Okay, so let's talk about it quickly. So reasons behind low food inflation. Clear? So first of all, retail inflation has been at a historical low. And within retail inflation, retail food inflation has been around minus 1.1%, which means prices are getting lower. Okay, retail food inflation, which is very rare. Okay, generally the growth rate declines, but growth rate never goes negative. This time it has. Generally, it doesn't go in the negative territory. So it's a very good thing. Why is it a good thing though? Okay, first of all, there are two good things that would come out of this. First of all, well, it will give relief to consumers. Okay, because most of India is lower middle class or lower class. For them, their food budget is very important. So there is declining food inflation. So that is good news for more than majority of India. So relief for consumers. Second, and this is very important. You see, to boost growth, RBI reduces interest rates. Right? But reduction in interest rate has one negative consequence. It pushes inflation upwards. Okay? It pushes inflation up. But if food inflation and inflation overall is already low, then RBI can take this risk of reducing interest rates further. Earlier, RBI was not that proactive with respect to reducing interest rates to boost growth. Why? Because they were fearful of the fact that it would really make inflation skyrocket. Okay, it would really run the risk of increasing inflation, skyrocketing inflation. Okay, but now that inflation is at a historical low, even if inflation increases a little bit, that won't put that much of a burden on consumers. Therefore, RBI now has more room or more leeway to reduce interest rates, which would boost liquidity and growth in India. So, RBI can push India's growth forward, more forward, if we can use this phrase, okay, without running the risk of high inflation. That's what low inflation has done. Here, so these are the consequences of low inflation. Now, the question is, what are the reasons behind low inflation? So, let's talk about it, okay? Before talking about these reasons, first of all, you need to know that prices of anything, like anything, are dependent upon demand and supply, right? If demand is more than supply, prices are going to increase, right? But if demand is less than supply, prices are going to decline. Okay? So there are two ways through which inflation happens. Either demand skyrockets, okay? Either demand increases dramatically, then inflation happens, or supply falls short. Okay? When supply falls short, demand is more than supply, inflation happens. Okay? Therefore, if you have to combat inflation, if you have to fight against inflation, you should either reduce demand or increase supply. Okay? And this is precisely what happens in agriculture. Agriculture is more or less, or inflation in agriculture is more or less driven by supply. Whenever supply falls, whenever there is bad monsoon, the crop yield has declined, whenever farmer distress happens and production of crops is not that high, whenever that happens, supply falls short of food items, demand is there. We are going to eat the amount of food we generally eat. So demand is stagnant, but supply falls short because of poor agricultural year. Okay, inflation happens. But if supply skyrockets or if supply improves, sometimes even more than demand, then what happens? Then prices decline. This time around in 2025, that is precisely what has happened. Okay, it is because of good agricultural supply that food inflation is low this year. Okay, so now let's take a look at the reasons. Now you'll be able to better understand these reasons. Okay, first of all, there has been improved cereal supply. Now, what are cereals? Rice, wheat, which are consumed the most by Indian population. Okay, these are the staple crops. Everyone consumes them. Rice, wheat, coarse grains, maize. Okay, all these grains that, well, which are used in breads, okay, for making breads, rotis, chapatis and all that stuff, okay. So, improved cereal supply. And the reason for improved cereal supply was, well, improved rainfall, improved soil moisture. Because of improved rainfall, aquifer or groundwater recharge has happened, abundant rain has been there. And because of good bumper crop year, this year's Rabi season as well as current Kharif season, okay, because of bumper crop, procurement by Food Corporation of India in its godowns of rice and wheat has also hit record heights. That is why now FCI has sufficient stocks, sufficient supply to feed the entire population of India. So supply is not a problem as far as cereals are concerned. Plus, this year around, monsoon has been a relief. First of all, there was an early onset of monsoon. Okay, monsoon arrived way earlier than usual. Clear? So early onset. Plus, monsoon this year for the month of May, June, and even July. Okay, rainfall for the month of May, June, July, all over India is higher than long period average, which means rainfall that India generally receives during these months, this time around it has been higher than average, that average, long period average. So we have received higher rainfall, we have received early rainfall. Okay, because of early and higher rainfall, Well, acreage of food crops has increased, which means more and more land is put under cultivation because farmers are confident that this year is going to be a good year for them. So they have increased sowing of these food crops, which is good news for supply of these food grains. So monsoon is a big reason. Plus, when it comes to pulses, we are not talking about cereals now. Pulses or edible oils, these two crops are a big reason of worry for India. Okay, generally inflation in cereals is not that problematic, but inflation in pulses, edible oils, and fruits and vegetables, they really create problematic situations. Okay, this year, well, government has come out with an import policy in which import duty on pulses and edible oils is either zero or negligible. Because of that, there has been high imports of pulses and edible oils. Because of that, because of these imports, supply of pulses and edible oils are very high, optimum levels, to optimum levels. Okay, and that is why even in case of pulses and edible oils, there is no supply side shortage. In fact, supply is very high. So there is no inflation in these areas also. So food inflation is pretty low. Clear? Now this is, well, these are all good news items, okay? But experts have said that there is no room for complacency because there are still risks. There are still risks that we are running. Basically, what experts are saying is that right now conditions look great, but these conditions can become worse in future. Okay, how can they become worse in future? Well, these are the risks. First of all, risk from monsoon. Yes, monsoon has been good for the month of May, June, and half July. But we can see a break in monsoon. Now, if that break happens, okay, so far it has been good. But if this break in monsoon happens, well, this is the period when crops grow properly. This is their vegetative growth stage. In this time period, if they don't receive enough rainfall, things can go bad. Okay, so we have to pray that monsoon throughout its season remains fruitful. Okay, and the other crisis is, which is a very serious crisis, and that is the fertilizer crisis. We are currently facing shortage in fertilizers. Rainfall has been good, but fertilizers have been, there have been some supply side disruptions in fertilizers. Okay, bigger source of uncertainty could be fertilizers, the demand for which has shot up on the back of monsoon timely advance. Like I said, because monsoon arrived early, so more and more land is put under cultivation. Okay, now because more and more land has been put under cultivation, there is more demand for fertilizer, right? Because now more crops are being grown. Now because of this high demand, we need high supply, but supply is restricted. Why? Well, most of our fertilizers, especially urea, DAP, diammonium phosphate, they are imported. Okay? And when it comes to diammonium phosphate, China has a chokehold on that. And China has levied export restrictions, which has reduced supply of DAP to the entire world. And India is suffering because of that. Okay? Opening stocks of urea, diammonium phosphate, and complex fertilizers are below the corresponding year ago level. So the stock of these fertilizers is lower than usual, which is not good news. Okay, so these are the two areas of vulnerability. One is hypothetical, the risk from monsoon. Well, this is real. It is happening right now, and that is fertilizer crisis. So these are the only two risks. Otherwise, things look quite bright as far as food inflation and food supply is concerned. Make sense? All right. Now let's quickly shift to third news item, which is UPSC Pratibha Setu. Okay, well, it is not a complicated news item. Okay, it is very simple, and I will explain it in 5-6 lines. Okay, we won't spend much time on it, but you have to spend time on it by reading it from the notes. You do that. But as far as the understanding part is concerned, well, you don't require the brain of a rocket scientist to understand this news item. It is pretty simple and easy. Okay, there is nothing to understand. Basically, that's what I'm saying. Any which way, the thing is that, well, UPSC is a tough exam. We all are preparing for it. Okay, you are. So UPSC is a tough exam, okay, and it is a brutal exam. Why? Because there are so many talented people who clear prelims, who clear mains, who even go to the interview stage, but do not clear the interview stage and their name does not show up in the final merit list. Now, there is no doubt that these people are talented. There is no doubt. But maybe because of hard luck, bad day on the day of interview, or any other reason, because of one bad day, which can happen to anyone. Okay, that is why luck is also very important in this exam. Because of one bad day, their hard work goes down the drain. Okay, they don't make to the final merit list and they have to try again from scratch again. They have to again clear prelims, mains, and then interview. Again, wait for one more year. It's a brutal exam. Okay, and there are so many people, so many talented people who have given 4 attempts, 5 attempts, even 6 attempts. Okay, they have spent 4, 5, 6 years of their youth preparing for this exam and they are nowhere. There are so many people like that. It is a brutal exam. I'm not discouraging you, okay? Because what I'm about to say will give you some encouragement. Now, this fact, this brutal fact was realized by the government, was realized by even UPSC, okay? So UPSC realized that there are some talented people who do not make to the final list. Now, government can't recruit them as civil servants because they have not made to the final merit list, right? But government has said that there is no doubt that these people are talented. So private companies out there can utilize their talent, can hire them directly. Okay? So what has UPSC done? UPSC has created a platform, a digital platform. All those people who have cleared their prelims, their mains, they even went to the interview but couldn't clear the interview stage or their name did not show up in the final merit list. Well, these people can upload their documents and their information on this platform. Okay, so they'll upload this information, they will register on this platform by uploading their CV and their information. Private companies can also register on this platform. Now, the profiles of all these students would be available to these private companies and these private companies can directly call. First of all, search such candidates. So private companies can search these people directly and set up an interview with them directly so that they can hire them. Because there is no doubt that these people are talented. Okay, people who have reached the interview stage, of course they are talented. Okay, and private companies can use them. So UPSC has created a platform. Okay, it's basically a platform where companies and these individuals, these talented individuals can meet. And these people do not have to waste their youth. Okay, waste their youth years, important youth years. By preparing again and again, they can find reasonable good employment in these private companies. Okay, basically we are trying, or the government is trying, that these people are not left unemployed. Okay, that is the thing. Clear? So for that, UPSC created a digital platform and the name of that digital platform is Pratibha Setu. Clear? That's about it. So what are the benefits of this Pratibha Setu? Well, job opportunities, they open up for these talented people. Utilization of their talent. If I'm calling them talented people, of course they have talent, right? Then benefit for employers because they can directly find these people, these talented people. So there is a website. Imagine from the perspective of a company, okay? All these private companies are searching for talented people to hire. Okay, but they can't find these skilled, talented people. Now, they just have to go to a digital platform, okay, log in and just see the profiles of all these people, these different people, and hire them directly. Clear? So it's good for employers. And this also enhances transparency. Why? Because it is online, the entire process is online for everyone to see. Okay, it's just a platform. So through a transparent way, well, we have created employment opportunities for these people who cannot make it past the interview stage. That's about it. Okay. And last but not the least, and that is CY-TB skin test by Kerala. So you see, well, we have talked about TB in detail, tuberculosis, and TB is a big disease in India. Many Indians are suffering from it. The thing is that India resolved to eliminate TB by 2025, but we are nowhere near that goal. For achieving that goal, we launched National Tuberculosis Elimination Program, NTEP. And under NTEP, we promised, or not promised, we resolved to eliminate TB by 2025. But that's not going to happen. So we would have to extend that target. Nonetheless, we are taking some aggressive steps to solve for this problem. Okay? Now, the biggest challenge in tackling TB is that most of the times Government of India is not aware how many people are there with TB. Government of India is not aware, okay? Because not enough testing is there. Clear? Many poor people who are, well, who have TB, they don't know that they have TB because they don't get themselves tested. They just treat the symptoms. And that is a problem. Now, to solve for this problem, if you really want to eliminate TB, you have to first know how many people are suffering from TB. For that, government expanded screening tests, mass screening tests for the population. But the thing is, the problem is that these TB tests are very expensive, so it is very difficult to deploy them at a mass scale because it would involve a lot of cost. Plus, it takes a lot of time, a lot of logistical equipment is required, you have to move labs to different places, you have to require so many equipments to do proper testing. Clear? Now, Kerala government has recently found out a test which is very simple. You don't need a lab for it. It is a normal portable kit and it is just a skin test. They don't take your blood sample. They just test your skin for certain bacterial antigens. Okay? And if it comes positive, then it is found out that you have TB. Very simple, very easy to perform. You don't require that much paraphernalia, labs and all that. Okay? And the report also comes very quickly. So you can deploy this test on a mass scale. And because you can deploy this test on a mass scale, what happens? Well, mass screening can happen. The government actually gets to know how many people are suffering from TB. And when government knows that, then it can treat these people and finally eliminate TB. The goal of National Tuberculosis Elimination Program. Right? So this is a big discovery and a big move by Kerala government. Clear? So let's talk about it, okay? So this is the CVTB skin test by Kerala. Clear? Now this test is very useful for latent TB. Now TB is of two types. Well, normal, or we call it active, and latent. Now what do you mean by latent? Well, when you have normal TB or when you have TB, what happens is, well, you show symptoms of TB. You have respiratory infection, high fever, coughing, and many other problems, okay? You show symptoms. But sometimes this TB bacteria remains in your body, but remains dormant, okay? So you have TB bacteria in your body, but it is dormant. That is why you don't show symptoms. Your body remains perfectly healthy. So you don't have any symptoms, you don't have any disease, okay? You are perfectly healthy, you don't feel diseased, okay? You don't feel unwell, everything is fine. But that bacteria is still in your body, okay? That is what is known as latent TB. And latent TB is dangerous. Why? Because this bacteria can activate itself anytime. So if you can find people who have latent TB, well, you can treat them now, before they can even show symptoms. That is a good thing, right? Now, this test is good for detecting latent TB. Okay, for detecting latent TB, you have to screen almost everyone, right? For that, you would require a simple, cost-effective, very easy to deploy test. And this is what CYTB skin test is. General TB tests are blood tests. You have to extract blood, take it to a lab, analyze it, and all that stuff. Here you just have to take a skin sample. You will attach some tape-like stuff on your skin, remove it, and that is the sample. So it is just a normal skin test. Clear? Now, what are the key features of this test? Well, it has high specificity. It detects bacterial antigens very specifically. So there are no false positives. Sometimes the result of blood test are false positives or false negatives. What do you mean by false positive? You don't have TB, but the test report shows that you have TB. That's a false positive. Okay, what is a false negative? Well, you have TB, but the report shows negative. Okay, this won't happen with this test. This is a very improved test. Now, this test has a long shelf life. Okay, 28 days under refrigeration, so you can carry it anywhere. Okay, no lab equipment is required and faster deployment. So the logistical challenge of mass screening, this gets solved. And generally with all these tests there is some adverse reaction on your body. Okay, sometimes fever, coughing, blood coughing, all these things happen. There is some adverse reaction, but in this test there is minimal adverse reaction. So all in all, a win-win situation and a good step in the direction of eliminating TB once and for all from India. Clear? And that would be all. With that, we conclude today's session. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I'm sure it has added value to your preparation. I'm sure about it, okay? But it would add more value if you're consistent and regular with this lecture series, and you do not forget to revise this lecture from the notes provided by us on Telegram channel, the link to which is provided in the comment section below. On that note, I'll be signing off with the promise of seeing you again with another set of news items. Thank you, everyone.